Okay, guys, I think it's time to get started. And so welcome to this session. This session is about the calculation competition, right? You guys all will take part in that competition, right? So basically, so let me setting something, guys. Okay, here we go. That's it. So now you can only send message to me. And so when we talk about angles, so it's about geometry, right? So firstly, let's see what I'm going to learn. We're going to do some review about this angles in the parallel lines. So I think all of you know this kind of thing, right? In the 11+ exam, it's not that hard. It's pretty easy. So the very first one is the Z shape, right? If you got two parallel lines and you got another straight line crossing these two lines, you have two angles. So for example, as for this one, you're gonna have this Z shape. And as for this Z shape, you're gonna have these two corners, right? And these two angles equals to each other. We're not going to prove that, okay? Just remember it. So in the parallel lines, you do have these two angles equals to each other. They're gonna call it alternate angles, right? Which looks like Z shape. And the second one, we're gonna call that corresponding angles. The shape is the same, right? Forming by two parallel lines and one another line crossing these two. And you're gonna have these two angles here, which looks F shape, right? Looks like a letter F. And you will see that in F shape, these two angles equals to each other as well. So basically, when you have two parallel lines, the alternate angles, which looks Z shape, equals to each other, right? And also for the F shape, you also got two angles that equals to each other, and you're gonna call that corresponding angles. Mike, tell me, can't hear me. What about others? Can you hear me, guys? If you can hear me, give me one. Type one to me. Okay, so I think all the others can hear me. So if you cannot hear me, you can just open up your volume, I guess. Then you can hear me. I think everything is okay now. Now last one, guys. We're gonna call that C shape. That's it. As for C shape, could be this one. Cannot right here. So that's this angle B and angle C, right? So does this two angles equals to each other? Mike, if you can't hear me, I suggest you to leave and rejoin. See, does that work? Okay. So angle AB, does it equals to each other? Like Z shape and F shape? No, of course not. Because you see that for B, it's an obtuse angle, right? And angle C is acute angle. Of course, they're not the same, right? They cannot be the same because one of that is smaller than 90 degrees. Another one is larger than 90 degrees. But what's the relationship between that, guys? For example, if I tell you this angle A is 60 degrees, can you tell me what's the measure of angle D directly? It's going to be 120. Very good. It's 120. So you'll see that these two angles add up to 180 degrees, right? Okay, so that's the C shape. We're going to call that co-interior angles. So as for the co-interior angles, they add up to 180 degrees. So guys, that's it. Pretty easy, okay? So are you happy to move on to some questions that you can solve? Yep. No problem. Let's see. I think this question, it's not very hard. So take a look at this. It says in the diagram below, ST is parallel to UV. So you got two parallel lines, right? And you will see that PQ gonna cross in this two, and PR also cross this two, intersect with these two parallel lines, right? So that means you're gonna have the F shape, the C shape, and also the Z shape you can use to solve the question. And in this question, it tells you that this angle SQP is 149 degrees, which is one less than 150, and this one is 133 degrees. Question is, what is the size of X? What is the size of X? So guys, I'm gonna give you a hint. If you want to find X, you have to spot X is in which triangle, okay? X in which triangle. If you found that triangle, you know that the three interior angles add up to 180 degrees, right? If you can find another two interior angles, just use 180 minus that two, you got X. Okay, guys, I will give you 3 minutes or 2 minutes. You can have a try by yourself. So far, I already got like 8 correct answers. So guys, have a try. If you know this one is 149, so what's the size of this angle over here? Is that the same? Is that the F shape? Yep. Okay, 1 more minute. Someone raise your hand. Yes, Heather, go ahead. Can you tell us how you solve it?
It's 92.
Yes, it's 92. Very good. Can you tell us how you solve it?
So since you know that angle SQP is 149, then
Mhm.
then the pattern on top of it is 31.
31, I mean this one over here, or this one?
Yes. Yeah.
Which one? The bottom one or the
Upper one.
upper one, this one?
Yes.
So it's 31 degrees. Can you tell us, how do you know that it's 31?
Because on the other side of the 149, it's 31, and they are like
We call that co-interior angles, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Very good. So as for co-interior angles, we know that they add up to 180 degrees. So this one is 31. And also these two angles, they are
vertically opposite.
yes, vertically opposite. So they equals to each other, which is 31 degrees. And how do we find X? We already got this one is 31. How can I get X?
Since you know the
Let's
other
give a
side of the
label
triangle.
here, AB.
Since you know B is 123, and then you know that 180 minus 123 is 57. Sorry.
Yep.
57.
So this
Sorry.
angle over here gonna be 57. That's it. So you find that this X is in triangle PAB, right? Yeah. So if we know that it's in triangle PAB, to get X, you just use 180 minus 31 minus 57. So that gives you the answer. Okay, guys. Now let's do the calculation. So X then equals to, if you take a look at the triangle PAB, right? We already figured out the another two interior angles. So you just do 180 degrees, the sum of 3 interior angles of a triangle, minus 31 and minus 57. So actually you can add these two together. That is 88, right? So you're gonna do 180 minus 88, you got 92 degrees. Emily, tell me, you do have some different ways. Yes, go ahead. Emily, what's your way?
So I use the Z, so I know that QAB
QAB, yeah.
Is also 149 degrees.
Yep, 149, very good.
Then I also worked out the 57 degrees. So
yes, you work out
57,
57 and then?
And then I did 149 minus 57.
Oh, very good. So you use that theorem, which is called exterior angle theorem, right? Very good. So guys, I'm not sure, do you guys all know this kind of theorem? Let's see. Let's do some review about this. If I give you a triangle, okay, this is a triangle, let's call that ABC. And if I extend BC a little bit longer, this angle, we're going to call that exterior angle, right? So can anyone tell me what's the relationship between this AB and this angle X over here? You can just type it to me in the chat box. This is A, this is B, and its exterior angle is X. Yes, guys, that's right. So X equals to A plus B. So how do we prove this? So actually, as for this angle C, you'll see that if we do A plus B plus C, that will be 180 degrees, right? That's the sum of all the interior angles of a triangle. And as for X plus C, it's a straight line, right? It's a straight angle, which is also 180 degrees. So we do X plus C, it's also 180. And now, guys, if we compare these two, you'll find AB plus C is 180. X plus C is also 180. So we got this X equals to A plus B. So in other words, if we do some conclusion, that is the exterior angle of a triangle equals to the sum of another two interior angles. So let me give you a practice question, guys. This is triangle that I extend the line, the side. For example, let's say this is 150 degrees, okay? And this one, let's call that 90 degrees. So question, what's the size of this angle over here? Can you just tell me directly in the chat box? Yes, guys, that's right, 60. Because we know that the two interior angles add up to 150, right? So if you want to get this angle over here, just use 150 minus 90, you got 60 degrees. That's the answer to the question. Okay, guys, now let's move on to the next question. You'll see in this question, you got 35 degrees, this angle over here, and 120 degrees, 45 degrees. Question asking you what is the sum of A and B. And also it gives you two parallel lines. So guys, to solve such kind of problem, what are we going to do? You see that, is that possible for us to add some lines so we'll get some alternate angles, some co-interior angles? Do we have that kind of thing? To make that shape, that's right, to make that shape. By doing what? Let's call this A, B, C. Any ideas? How can I do this? Yes, Emily? What do you think?
A, put the line through A that is parallel to the line.
Yeah, so me add a parallel line crossing this angle A like this. And then do we need to add one more? Yeah, we can do this, add one more parallel line and also add one more parallel line. But I guess for this question, you do have some other methods to solve it, right? If I add three lines, let's see, what do we have? This is 35, right? This is 35. And you do have these alternate angles. This one is also 35. So let me write on that. It's 35. And it's just part of A, right? It's part of A. And as for this angle over here, of course, you know, that equals to this angle, but we don't know what's the size of this angle. It's just a part of 120. So actually you can call that angle X. So this is going to be X as well, right? Because they equals to each other, it's alternate angles. And also for this part, you can call that Y, right? So this will be Y as well. They're also alternate angles. And then as for this angle over here, guys, can you tell me what's the size of this angle? Yes, it's b minus y. That's right. But do we know the size of that directly, the number? We do know that, right? It's just the 45. It's 45 degrees. So let's see, what is a plus b, guys? The question is asking you what is a plus b, right? So a plus b then equals to, let's see, this a equals to 35 degrees plus x. So 35 degrees plus x. And what is b? The b will be y plus 45 degrees. That's it. And now guys, can you tell me what's the sum of x plus y? Take a look at the diagram. What is x plus y? Is that 120 degrees? You see that this is x, this is y. If you add them together, it's just a 120 degrees, right? You know that in the diagram directly. So x plus y is 120. So we're going to replace that whole part by 120 degrees. And then you're going to add 35 degrees and 45 degrees. And we got the answer, right? Which equals to, let's say 35, 45 is 80. 80 plus 120, you got 200 degrees. That's it. Okay. Guys, is everything clear? Can you type 5 to me if you understand the question in the chat box? Yep. Okay. I guess we can move on to the next one. All right, guys. Sometimes you'll see in some of the questions, it only tells you the relationship between sides. You're not given any like the relationship between angles, but it asks you about sides of angles. So that means you have to use algebra to solve such kind of problem. Let me read the question for you. So in this question, it tells you in the isosceles triangle ADE, okay, guys, take a look at this one. ADE, this obtuse triangle, it's isosceles. AD equals to AE. So guys, can you tell me if we know that AD equals to AE, which two angles equals to each other? Can you just type it to me in the chat box? Which two angles must be equal to each other? D and E. Yes, that's right, guys. That's right. So for any isosceles triangle, two base angles must be equal to each other. So we know that AD equals to AE. That means angle D equals to angle E. So these two equals to each other. So when you get two angles with the same size, you can use the same letters to represent that. I like to use X. Of course, you can use A or B or whatever you like. Okay, I like to use X. So this will be X as well because they equals to each other. Okay, and then let's see what do we have. It tells you that B and C are 2 points on DE such that DB equals to AB equals to AC equals to CE. So guys, tell me how many isosceles triangles do you have in this diagram? Just count it and tell me how many. You can find how many isosceles triangles there. Only 2. Someone said 2. Someone said 3. How many? Actually, you do have 4 isosceles triangles, right? The largest one, ADE itself, is just the isosceles triangle. ABD isosceles triangle because AB equals to BD. ACE is also isosceles triangle because AC equals to CE. And we do have one more that is ABC right here, right? This is also isosceles triangle. So guys, can you tell me if I want to use the letter to represent the size of angle DAB, is that still X? Is that still X? Yes or no? Yes, it is. Because triangle ABD is isosceles triangle and angle D is X, so this one will be X as well. And since this shape is symmetrical, so this is X. Okay. And now I do have one more question for you guys. if I want to use X to represent this angle over here, ABC, it's gonna be how many X? You just learned that about the exterior angle theorem. Yes, Nathan, can you tell us? You can unmute yourself now. It's 2x, right? But can anyone explain this to me? Why is that 2x? How do you know it? It looks like 2x. Someone is raising your hand. Let's say. So Boxuan, can you tell us why is that 2x? Because it's exterior angle, that's right. So if you take a look at the triangle ABD, guys, if you take a look at triangle ABD, you will find that this ABC is just the exterior angle of triangle ABD because you just extend BD a little bit longer, right? You'll find this is exterior angle. And as we said, this angle equals to the sum of another two interior angles. So you know this is 2x. Yep. And then since ABC, this triangle is also isosceles triangle. So ACB gonna be 2x as well. Yep. And now let's see what do we have. It says given that angle A, it says BAC, right? BAC is 5 times as large as the angle ADE. So let's say ADE is just 1x. We just label that by 1x. And it tells you BAC is 5 times as large as that. So how can I represent BAC, guys? How many x? Is that 5x? Yes, it's 5x. Okay. So now we can figure out what is x by doing the sum of all the 3 interior angles of this triangle ADE, guys. So can you tell me how many x add up to 180? And you solve that simple equation, you find what is x. How many? If you take a look at the triangle ADE, that angle DAE equals to 1x, 5x, 1x, 7x, right? And ADE is 1x, AED is also 1x. So let me write down that for you. ADE, 1x, AED is also 1x. So if you add them all together, it's going to be the sum of all the 3 interior angles, which equals to 180, right? So 9x equals to 180. So 1x will be 180 divided by 9, you got 20 degrees. Okay. But guys, be careful. Is that 20 the final answer to the question? What's the question? Question is, what is the size of angle DAE, right? So DAE will be 1x, 5x, and 1x. So 7x. And now, guys, we can get a final answer to the question. So angle DAE then equals to 7 times by 20 degrees. And that is the answer to the question, which is 140 degrees. All right, guys, that's it. That's about this one. So any questions do you have? Is that all clear? Yep. So before we go to the next topic, I'd like to do some conclusion. So guys, when you saw some such kind of question, you don't have any information about size of angle, but you do know there's some lines that equals to each other. So that means you can use the isosceles triangles to help you. Because in the isosceles triangles, you will have 2 base angles equals to each other. And also, one more technique you have to remember in your mind is that when you want to choose some size of angle, choose some angle as 1x, choose the smallest one. Because for all the others, you can use like 2x, 3x, 5x to show that. It's going to be easy for you to do the calculations. But for example, if you choose in this question, if you choose BAC as x, then for all the other angles, you're going to do like 1/5 of x. And it's really likely to make a mistake when you do some calculations in terms of fractions. So remember to choose the smallest angle as x, okay? Now I guess let's move on to the next topic. You see that the interior angle and exterior angle of polygons. Okay, now we're gonna do some review about polygons. Let's see. First question, the sum of interior angles of an n-sided polygon is? Anyone still remember the formula? Can you just type it to me? I think a lot of you know that. N minus 2 times by 180, that's right. So how do you prove that, guys? If I don't remember this, how can I get that formula directly when I take the exam, guys? You have to understand this. So for example, let's take a rectangle as example. This is rectangle, or you can see that quadrilateral. And I can use the diagonal to cut it into 2 triangles, right? So basically for this 4-side polygon, I can cut that into 2 triangles, right? So 4-side, you can cut that into 2 triangles. And now let's see if I got this pentagon. This is a pentagon, right? You can also cut that into how many triangles, guys? If I'm starting from one of the vertices, I can cut that into 3 triangles. That's right, no problem. So if I cut here and cut it here. So you'll see that for this 5-side polygon, you're going to cut that into 3 triangles, right? And one more thing is that if you got this, let's do one more example over here, hexagon. And starting from one of the vertices of hexagon, you can cut that into 4 triangles. And you'll see that interior angle, the sum of all the interior angle of this hexagon equals to the sum of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 triangles. Okay, so basically for 6-side polygon, you're going to cut that into 4 triangles. So the pattern here is that the number of triangles that it can cut this polygon into will be 2 less than the side of polygon. So we got the formula, which is if you got n-side polygon, you just use n minus 2 first and times by 180 degrees. So that will be the sum of all the interior angle of this n-side polygon. Okay, make sense? Yeah. And then the sum of all the exterior angles of an n-side polygon is, what is this, guys? What's the sum of all the exterior angles of polygon? It's always a fixed number. It's always a fixed number. If you don't remember that, you can draw a shape and count it directly. So basically for this rectangle, one of the exterior angles 90, and you have 4 of that, right? 90, 90, 90, and also 90 degrees. So 4 times by 90 equals to 360 degrees, right? And actually for all the other n-side polygons, you'll find the sum of all the exterior angles is always the fixed number, which is 360 degrees. Okay? Guys, so far so good? And now let's see what do we have next. The question is about regular polygon. So can anyone tell me what is a regular polygon? What's the difference between a regular polygon and an irregular one? What does it mean by regular? Let's see. Nathan, can you tell us why is that? What is regular? Can you unmute yourself? Just so you raise your hand. Can you tell us what is regular polygon? Yes, Heather, what do you think? How about now, guys? I think now you can unmute yourself.
So think a regular polygon, all the sides
Mhm.
are the same angles, but in an irregular one, it can be different.
Yep. So regular one, all the sides equals to each other, and also all the sides of angles equals to each other as well. Okay. So that means we can just use division to find the size of each of the interior angle. So see, all the interior angles are equal. The size of each interior angle of any side polygon is. So you just use the sum of all the interior angles of this n-side polygon divided by n, right? Because for n-side regular polygon, you're gonna have n angles, interior angles. They all equals to each other, right? So let's see. Then the formula gonna be the sum n minus 2 times by 180 degrees, and then divide by n, and divide by n. And actually, guys, you can use some numbers to prove this if this one is correct. If you use n equals to 4, then 4 minus 2 equals to 2. 2 times by 180 is 360, and divided by 4, you got 80 degrees, right? And of course, it's correct, because when 4 equals to n, it's a square. And we know that the interior angle of a square is 90 degrees. Okay. So let's see this one. It's 90 degrees. And similarly, a regular polygon has all its exterior angle equal to each other. The size of each exterior angle of any side regular polygon is. Since we know that the sum of all the exterior angles is 360, so to get each of that, you just use 360 divided by n. That's the one of the exterior angles. Okay. Any questions do you have? Is that all clear? So we do have someone raising your hand. So what's your question? I don't know how to pronounce it. Is that Hugh for something?
Yeah. So the say is offered every single shape. Like, let's say the n equal to has a new shape. Does that work for any shape?
Yeah, it work for any shape, but it must be regular, and yeah.
Okay. Thanks a lot, mate.
It must be regular and gonna work for any shape. For example, let's see, if you take a look of this regular hexagon, I'm gonna draw one of the regular hexagon for you. This is a regular hexagon. And we know that the interior angle and the exterior angle add up to 180 degrees, right? It's a straight line. If you use this formula to gather one of the interior angle, let's say n gonna equal to 6, because for hexagon, you're gonna get 6 side, right? So 6 minus 2 in the bracket times by 180. And then we're gonna divide that by 6, because we got 6 sides. So let's see, what do we have? 6 minus 2, you got 4. 4 times by 180 is, so we know that 2 times by 180 is 360, and it times that 2 again, you got 720 degrees, right? And then divide by 6, that is 120 degrees. And then let's use this formula to see what can be the exterior angle that we can get. You just use 360, the exterior angle, right? The sum of all the exterior angles, divide by 6. 360 divided by 6 equals to 60 degrees. Right? And that's one of the exterior angle, guys. And now you will see that if you add this two, it is 180 degrees. So it means this two formula must be correct. Okay? And guys, another way to gather the size of interior angle of a hexagon is that you just get the exterior angle. For example, in hexagon, you got 60, and you use 180 minus that 60, you can get 120 as well. So that's the another way to get the interior angle, by doing 180 take away the exterior angle. Okay. Now, guys, we do have this question over here. Let's take a look at this exploration 4, and we do have 2 more questions, include this one. The diagram shows a regular hexagon A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, it's a regular hexagon. Okay, guys, just now we can do the calculation to find what's the size of one of interior angle of this one. Okay, and also a regular pentagon A, B, I, H, G, and also a square B, J, K, C. You're asked to find the side of angle BJI. So this is B, this is J, and this is I. You'll find it's not connect. So let's connect them by ourselves. Let's do that. We have to connect J and I. Okay, here we go. If you connect J and I, you find this angle BJI is in triangle BJI. So guys, think about it, because we got 3 regular polygon, right? So is that triangle BJI a special triangle? Is that a special triangle, guys? I mean special. When I say special, I mean, is that isosceles or equilateral or some triangle? Is that isosceles triangle? Yes, Jasmine?
Is an isosceles triangle?
But why? Why is that isosceles? It does look like.
Because the side of the square, the edge of the square is the same as the edge of the hexagon, which is the same as the edge of the pentagon.
Yeah, that's right. Since you will see that BC equals to BJ, because BJKC is a square. So the side equals to each other. And also you'll see that this one, you got a regular hexagon. So the side equals to each other. So AB also equals to BC. And also ABIHG is a pentagon, a regular pentagon. So BI also equals to AB. So we know that BI equals to AB equals to BC equals to BJ. So that means BI, the side equals to BJ. In other words, triangle BJI is isosceles triangle, right? Make sense? If you know that is isosceles triangle, to get the base angle, you have to find what is the top angle. Since 2 base angles equals to each other, right? If you want to get the base angle, you have to use 180, take away the top angle, and then divide that by 2. Then here's the question. What is the size of the top angle? The question is, what's the size of JBI? So guys, you will find that JBI consists of 2 parts, right? One is that ABI, and that ABI is just one of the interior angle of this pentagon. And another part is that ABJ, right? So the sum of this one, so this JBI equals to the sum of the angle ABI adding JBA. So guys, can you tell me, type it to me, what's the size of ABI? Just use the formula. Just use that formula. Is that 108? So because it's pentagon, you do 5 minus 2 in the bracket times by 180 and then divide by 5. Right? So that is ABI. You do 3 times by 180, you got 540 divided by 5, which is 180. I mean 108. Right? This is 108. But question, what's the size of JBA? What's the size of this smaller angle? Yes, Emily, what do you think?
Is it 120 take away 90, which is 30?
Yeah, that's right. So basically to get JBA, let's say this angle JBA equals to CBA. Take away this JBC, which is 90 degrees, right? So just minus 90. And to get CBA, that is, I mean, the interior angle of this hexagon. So you're going to use 6. Guys, if you're familiar about the size of the interior angle of the hexagon, you can just go with 120. But if you're not, so do this formula. 6 minus 2 times 100 to divide by 6 and take away 90. And when you do this, you got 120, right? Minus 90 equals to 30 degrees. So guys, this is 30, JAB. Now we can add them together. 108 degrees plus 30 degrees, you got 138 degrees. That's the size of JBI, right? So guys, last step to get X. We just use 180, take away the top angle of this isosceles triangle, 138, right? And then you're going to divide that by 2, because 2 base angles equals to each other, right? So let's see, angle BJI then equals to this, which is 42 divided by 2 equals to, guys, equals to what number?
21.
That's right, equals to 21 degrees. So that's the answer to the question. All right, guys, that's the second last question today. We do have one more question. Let's see the last one of this question. So I ask you about X, right? The size of X. And you do have this regular hexagon and regular pentagon. Does someone still, I think all of you still remember the interior size of the hexagon, right? A regular hexagon, which is 120 degrees. So can anyone help me to figure out what's the size of this pentagon? Can you type it to me? What's the size interior angle of pentagon? Yes, it's 108. We just solved it in the previous question. So 120, 10 degrees. So we will get the size of this angle over here, right? What's the size of this angle, guys? So 180 minus 120 minus 10, you got 50 degrees. This one is 50. And using the same method, what's the size of this angle? What's the size of this one? 180 minus 21 minus 108. That is 52 degrees. No problem. 52. Since you got 50 and 52, can we get the size of this angle over here? You will see that this one is little triangle, right? Is that 78? Yes, it is 78. And since you know this is 78, this one is 78 as well, because they're opposite angles, right? And now you have to be careful. What about the size of this angle? Do we know the size of this too? Yes, we do. You'll find actually this angle over here is just one of the interior angle of this regular pentagon. So you can just write down the size of this angle directly, which is 108 degrees, right? So these two equals to each other, this pink one and the blue one over here. And also this angle, it's also 120, because that's the size of this angle over here, right? Interior angle of a regular hexagon. And now to get X, guys, I think it's pretty easy for you to solve the question now. X equals to this angle over here. So this is also X. And you'll find you got this quadrilateral, right? In this quadrilateral, you got 108, 120, and 78. And you ask about the last one. So can you type it to me? What's the size of all the 4 angles of a quadrilateral? 360. If you don't remember, right? If you don't remember, you can take a look. Just draw any quadrilateral you like and cut that into 2 triangles. So you know that the size or the sum of all the interior angles equals to 180 times by 2, you got 360. right? So to get x, guys, last step, 360, the sum of all the interior angles, take away the other three angles, 108, take away 120, take away 78. And that's the answer to the question. Yes, Catherine.
Is the answer 54?
Yes, that's right. It's 54. Did you all get 54, guys?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the answer to the question. 50. That's it, guys. That's all for today. Any other questions do you have? As we said, this session won't be very long. It's 45 minutes. And you do have some questions to solve as a homework. I think it's like 5 questions homework and 5 questions bonus. So you can do at least 5 of that to review what you learned today. Okay. So, in the Zoom, we don't have the coin shower. We